No. That's okay. I have one.
So good evening, everyone, and good to see and thank you for again joining today. Again, we will start with a short mindfulness breathing exercise to quiet our mind, to bring our mind in the moment present. So just try to relax, make yourself comfortable. And then feel the weight of your body on cushions or chair. And breathe in and out naturally, normally. And as you breathe in and out, observe it mindfully and try to be aware when you're breathing in, being aware you are breathing in. And when you're breathing out, being aware you are breathing out. Simply just observing and being mindfully observing, being aware. Then we try to generate good intentions. We can think by coming us here together, giving our precious time to listen and to reflect, contemplate, engage in discussions. May all these become cause and conditions to transform our mind. That transforming our mind in reducing those negative thoughts, feelings, emotions. Cultivating and increasing those positive state of mind. Such as true love, compassion, Ujjhita mind, wisdom, patience. And having transformed our mind, may we be able to be more and more help and benefit to more and more sentient beings. And may it be cause and condition to obtain our own highest potential, the fully awakened state. So we can be not only help and benefit, but greatest help and benefit. And not only for few sentient beings, but to each and every sentient beings. Without any partiality, without any conditions. Without any limitations. Okay.
For our opening prayers, we'll start with the praise for Shakyamuni Buddha, which we'll recite 3 times in English. To the founder, the one God beyond, the others prior, the created fully in knowledge and in good conduct. Siddhartha,
To you, the completely and fully open one, and that place in the destruction. The void is stronger, as the blue from the shocking hand. I was creating all things to be over the back. Looking at ours and sending the story. The completely perfected void awakening. Perfect knowledge and good conduct. God, considering the current knowledge and beings, the good and completely and fully awakened one, the balance and sin destroyed, the glorious hunger, the spirit and the shocking plan, how to frustrate me while the great single gravity. To the founder of the embellishments and destroyer, the completely perfected fully awakened, perfect knowledge and good conduct. Siddhartha, the world, supreme God and things to be accepted. Keeper of gods and beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the intelligence and destroyed, the glorious hunger, the good land. After all, 30 offerings and open refuge.
We'll do the short mandala offering once in English. This ground anointed with perfumes, spread with flowers, adorned with country
For confidence is abounding. I am this God. May all of the beings enjoy this good land.
On the next page, we'll do the refuge and bodhicitta prayer, once in English and twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I am light to the living of darkness.
By the merits I pray, it's to God. May I have one of the dead in order to benefit all splendid things.
Psalm
Yes.
Yes, can you tell us again, tell me and maybe others which wonder what does Idam Guru Ratnam out of the commentary of Tayami mean? How does that translate? Lynn?
Yeah, Idam means deity, Guru means teach, spiritual teacher, Ratna is precious, Mandala is the precious mandala, Ratna mandala, yeah. From Niryam, I think Niryataya means offering, so it's like I offer the precious mandala to deity Guru. So now from quite few weeks we have been going through some of the common mantras that we often use it, and last week we kind of discussed about the Manjushri's mantras, the meaning, literal meaning, and the more hidden from meanings and purpose of doing the Manjushri mantras. Today, I thought of, maybe do Tara and Medicine Buddha mantras if you have time, both of them. And then next week we'll do some other mantras, Vasasadava and some others. And then maybe that will be kind of maybe for these mantras, teaching discussion on mantras. We will conclude that, and then we will start another topic subjects. So again, Tara has many forms. Here we are going to discuss more on green Tara, as most common Tara, known as Mother Tara, liberated Tara. And Tara is known for her symbolized courage, confidence and courage. Tara, when she was on the path as well she was on the path long time ago, she made commitment to come as a woman life after life and to achieve enlightenment as a woman. And that requires a lot of courage. At that time, being coming as a woman and then being on the path is not the best conditions because of male-dominated society, very strong. Even that time, so many of other women, they pray to be born as a male in next lifetime, not to come as a woman, but come as a man, because coming as a woman was not easy in that kind of environment society. But she was opposite. She was very determined, very courageous, confidence. She said, I will not come as a man, but I would rather come as a woman, and woman after woman on the path and achieve enlightenment in women's form. So anyway, so from that you can understand how incredible, when she was on the path for very long, incredible determinations, the courage, the confidence. So that is what she symbolized. And also, Tara is known as the manifestations of all enlightened beings' activities. As we spoke last time, Manjushri is the manifestation of enlightened wisdom. Avalokiteshvara, our Jainistic manifestation of Buddha's compassions. Similarly, Tara is the manifestation of enlightened activities. And so therefore, activities means actions, means happening, movings. So then when we rely on Tara, then it makes things moving. Sometimes things get stuck. Do you get it? Due to obstacles. Things get stuck and doesn't move as much as you want them to move. And because there is and so what makes things move and things happen is the actions, the activities. And so she is the enlightened activities, all the enlightened activities that also. So when we rely on her and her practice, then it helps to make things, when things get stuck, whether on mundane level or whether on spiritual level, whether it's in ordinary world or whether it's in a spiritual world, it support and help to make things move, things happening, so, it helps to clear the obstacles, whatever the obstacles that stuck from happening or moving, and overcoming those obstacles and clearing the, gathering the conducive condition that help to move, and help things to happen. So that is a little bit Tara without going so much. And Tara's mantra, Om Tare Tu Sova. I'm trying to remember. I don't know whether the 4 elements with 4 colors. Yes, of course, the red is fire elements. Yellow is earth element. Is the white the water element? I think so. And then green is the wind. I think the wind. I'm not 100% sure between the white and green, wind and water. I think it's the wind is the green and the white is the water elements in terms of 4 elements. And I think also the green Tara's color, the green symbolize that, the moving, the wind. Wind is the movement, is the nature of wind. It doesn't stay, it always moving, and so that is what, even from that, it symbolizes or represents that actions, movements, So, Om Tare Tu Tare Tu, so literally it means the liberator, in Tibetan, and the liberator of the suffering, or liberating from the suffering, or liberator of the sufferings. That is more or less kind of So there is one at the very beginning, before we recite the Tara's mantra, or when we do the Tara's practice, there's one verse is making frustration to her, paying homage. Call to Tara. So like Om Tare Tu Tare, Tare Ma. Ma is the female, Tare, the liberator, Koaleru, liberated from the samsara. Tudara is you get, and then Untare, Tutare, the Tutare is liberating from the 8th fear. The mother who liberates from the 8th fear, Tutara is Turi Navanam Ledu. And Ture, Tare, Tutare, Ture Stoha, Ture Navanam Ledu, the Ture that liberates from all the illness or sickness. Today, Navanam Ledu, Domayuda, Chatsalo, then I prostrate to the Mother Tara, or pay homage to Mother Tara, or go directly to the Mother Tara, or if you want to do, then make offering to the Mother Tara, So, so that explains the meaning of the mantras. Om, we already spoke with all the mantras, the Om, and that is the spiritual goal we want to achieve, Then Tare Tu Tare Ture, is the path that lead to that goal, the path that lead to the goal. So we all have the potential to become Dada ourselves. And we all can become Dada ourselves. And how can we achieve and become Dada ourselves? Is by actualizing the path, Dada to Dada to that path. So we can become Dada ourselves because we all have the potential to become Dada. And we can become Dada and become inseparable from the Mother Dada. One inseparable, when we actualize, by actualizing the realization, the path of Tudare Ture, so Tudare Ture. So there is three, the path Tare, Tudare, Ture. Okay, so it's like as we said before, be rooted in the path, be rooted in your heart. So Tare is, the path that liberates from the sufferings, the samsara and the suffering of samsara. Okay. Especially the sufferings of the samsara. And that the path that liberates from the sufferings of samsara, and especially the suffering of lower rebirth within the samsara, is the path of small scope. And then Tare to Tare is liberating, the path that liberates from the 8 fears. And so in terms of fears, there is external fear and internal fear. External ordinary fear and internal fear of afflicted emotions, And the path that liberates from that internal fear, the delusions, is the path of middle scope, And then Tare to Tare Ture is liberating from the illness. So illness here, again, not necessarily just that external illness, but more internal illness of, subtle obscurations. The subtle obscurations that is left by the delusions, and the path that liberates from that subtle obscurations is the path of the great scope of practice and the path of the great scope. And so therefore, in that, the path to achieve the Buddhahood of Tara is by actualizing those three paths within ourselves. The path of middle scope, small scope, middle scope, and great scope. Through actualizing those three paths, the path of small scope, middle scope, and great scope, then we can overcome the suffering and the cause of the sufferings. That's the delusions, the 8 fears, and then the illness of selfish attitude, self-centeredness, and the subtle obscurations. Coming to the it fears. There is a praise to Tara by Lective Ma Seven Dalai Lama. So in that he explains so as I was saying, there are external fear and internal fears. So in that, fear of fire, external, and internal fire is the anger. Okay, external. So, of course, in terms of stories, there is a stories, a practitioner who was in danger of fire, who was in the danger of fire, and then, recollecting the Tara, remembering the Tara, and with a strong faith, devotions, thinking of Tara, reciting the Tara mantra, through that, the practitioners was able to overcome the danger of the fire and the fear of the fire. Okay? External. Internal fear is the fear of anger. And the anger is like a fire. Fire consumes and burns everything. That is the power of the fire. How damaging it can be, how it can burn everything in it very quick. Just like what we are seeing now in Hawaii, incredible. How everything's, the whole town is completely burned down in a very short period. Same thing, anger is inside, like that. When you have anger, it can burn, your virtues immediately like that. It takes a lot of effort to create a lot of virtues, merit. And then the moment of anger, it can burn down so easily. The moment of anger so easily destroy and burn all the virtues or the merit we have created so much effort over the time. Also, anger, is something that, destroy your immune system on physical level, destroy your immune systems, eat your immune systems. And then, of course, it internally, it destroys your love, compassion, you know. Before you feel love, compassion for someone, the moment you get angry with that person, that love and compassion totally gone, totally destroyed, you know. Our goodness, you know, altruistic mind, loving mind, compassion mind is completely destroyed by moment, you know, like that anger, such is like the fire. You know, the fear of lying. So again, in terms of externally, you know, again, at certain time, in certain places, again, in the practitioners faced with the danger of lying. And again, the practitioners who has strong devotion to the Tara, recollect the Tara, remember the Tara, and with the strong devotions, you know, make prayers, recite the mantra, and that through that, then again, the practice is able to be safe from the danger of the lying, you know, from the danger of the lying, and then the fear of the lying, you know. So that is external. Internally, you know, the fear of pride. And so lion being the kind of the king in the jungle, you know, the lion is like the king in the jungles. So then it has a lot of pride, you know. You know, everyone is, you know, I'm the boss, you know, I'm the boss, you know, everyone is under me, or no one can confront me, you know. So that kind of pride. And similarly, you know, that's what the pride does. You know, when you have pride, this kind of delusional pride, then, you know, we feel we are the right, you know, we are better, we are more supreme, you know, and put and look down others, you know, put down others, look down on the others, feel they are less than ourselves, and we are more supreme than them, we are better than them, you know. So again, due to the pride, when we have such pride, then it creates obstacles for us to make progress. It creates obstacles to learn more. When we feel I'm better, I know better, I'm more supreme, you know. Even someone has something to offer, you don't listen to it due to your pride. You know, if you are humble and if you are less pride, your mind is more open to hear and listen from others. And through listening and hearing from others, you learn, you make progress, both on our ordinary world as well as spiritual path. And that is how we can make progress. But when you have pride, then, you know, it creates obstacles to make progress. The fear of elephants. And here in that, you know, elephant is related with the ignorance in terms of internal. And there it says, you know, the elephant, wild elephant, you know, kind of crazy wild elephant will trample everything, you know, anything that on the path, it will smash, it will trample everything. You know, in the same way, you know, when you're the ignorance, then, you know, we destroy everything out of the ignorance, you know. And ignorance, the one that gives rise to anger, attachment, pride, jealousy, resentment, all these other negative emotions, arise from the ignorance, and that through that, then it destroys our own happiness and happiness of others. It destroys our happiness, and we engage in your actions that also destroy other happiness. And if we observe our experience, that's true. When you are angry, upset and angry and rage, not only you destroy your peace and happiness, then you act in the actions that also destroy others' peace and happiness. And same with others, And the fear of snake. Snake here is with the jealousy or envy. So, snakes, kind of what is the right word? They hide, and if you're too close and if you don't say, they might strike you, They are not so obvious a lot of time, they are in the bushes or around bushes or around, and so they hide, and then if you're too close and if they feel, not so safe, whatever, they can strike them, same thing. Same thing, similarly, envy, jealousy is that, when you see the success and happiness of someone you dislike, then you have that jealousy and envy, instead of being happy for that person's, for their success, for their happiness, for their prosperity. Instead, we feel unbearable when you have jealousy and envy. Instead, you become unbearable, wishing why it is happening to that, why it's not happening to me, wish it happened to me, instead of being joyful, rejoicing in someone's happiness. And again, so that is kind of striking back from, from the corner or from hiding, And the fear of imprisonment. So again, I didn't go through each of those external fears. Again, there's individual stories of different individual practitioners who face those different external dangers and fear from being in that kind of dangers, and then all of them, strongly devoted to the Tara, remember the Tara, praying to the Tara and reciting the practice, and that they were able to overcome those danger and fears. So, so I don't have to go through all of that, each of them. And so in terms of, so imprisonment, the fear of imprisonment, and then in terms of the internal, then it is the miserliness. I cannot exactly put those together, exactly the external and the internal. I think I have to think more. I have to contemplate more of that. But I think maybe in one way, when you are under the control, or when you are under the miserliness, in a way, you are in presence. On the other hand, when you are generosity, you are much more open, freedom. There's more freedoms, there's fear and more freedom. On the other hand, when we become so miserlessness, where you feel no matter how much you have, you always feel not enough to share, to give. That is miserlessness, grasping, holding very tightly, not being able to let it go. When you have 100 bucks, we feel not enough. When you have 1,000 bucks, still we feel not enough. When you have 100,000, we still feel not enough to share and give. Even when you have 100,000, we still feel that not enough. Even if you become a millionaire, you still feel you have not enough to share and give. Always, no matter how much you have, there is the kind of fear to share and give because of feeling of not enough. On the other hand, there are people who are very generous, even they have very little, but who have not that fear of sharing and giving. They have this feeling of abundance. They always, even they have 100 bucks, they feel, oh, I have more than I need. I have more than I could, and willing to share and give where it's needed, and not fearful of that. So living in that fear is a prison. Do you get it? Whereas when you're free from that fear, then that is freedom, And the fear of floods, and then in terms of the internal fear, delusion and attachments, So just as the floods wash away everything, same way attachment can, wash away our happiness, our sense of peace, contentment, when you have attachment, craving, this sense of, wanting more, better, always wanting more and better, and not being able to content. No matter how much we have, not being content with that, not being happy with that, not being satisfied with that, always wanting more, better, new, something else. When you are here, you want to be more closer to the oceans, water. When you are close to ocean and water, you wish you will be in the mountains. Always not being satisfied and happy of wherever you are, whatever you have, always wanted something else. When you are here, you want to be there. When you are there, you want to be here. So that is the craving, the attachment, this dissatisfied mind, that wash away all your sense of contentment, satisfied, happy mind, and it is that attachment most time give rise to anger, jealousy, and all others. Fear of doubt, the fear of demons instead of outside, and then inside is the doubt. Internal fear is the doubt. And doubt, I think there could be positive doubt and delusional doubt. Positive and healthy doubt is being curious and wanting to know, not just because someone said, or just because what you heard or you saw, but wanting to know more clear, more better. That is kind of curiosity and wanting, the mind being more open, and with that open mind, not believing immediately, but there is an open mind to find more. That is something positive, something we need. But delusional doubt is that, you have some doubt and then it closes your mind instead of being open. Do you get it? Instead of being open and trying to understand, learn and understand what it is and find, instead with your doubt, you just shut down your mind. I don't want to hear about it. I don't believe it. And so it's, instead of exploring and trying to find, your mind becomes very, very narrow and kind of shut down. And that kind of doubt is without really analyzing, investigating. A lot of time that is, a lot of time doubt are like that. That is the unhealthy delusional doubt. And that is like the demons, here when we say demons, something that harms and hurt because of doubt, then, we cannot make progress in our path. We cannot make progress in our path. And the fear of robber, the fear of thief or robber, and then in terms of the internet is the wrong view, the wrong view of cause and effect, karma, thinking, our actions have no consequences. I can do and engage in the harmful actions, and there's no negative consequences. That there's no positive consequences of my positive and virtuous actions. So that is the wrong view, and so and that wrong view, steals, our happiness and cause of happiness. If you have that wrong view, then you will not engage in you will not try to, overcome, avoid negative karma. You will not try to engage in the positive, creating positive karma. And if you don't avoid the negative karma, you will continue to engage in negative karma, you will continue to experience suffering. If you don't engage in the creating positive karma, then you will not have happiness, and then you get robbed of your happiness. There's no happiness because you haven't created a cause for the happiness, and so that has been stolen, or that. So those are the kind of so that is tare tutare. Okay, tutare is liberating from the 8 fears. The path that liberates from the 8 fears, external fears and internal fears, the fears of those delusions. Okay, and then from tare tutare, ture is, as I mentioned, ture is the illness, liberating from illness, and here illness doesn't necessarily just mean the external illness. Of course, Mother Tara also help by relying on to overcome the illness, out of the obstacles, illness. But here mainly the illness of selfish attitude, self-centeredness. Do you get it? The illness of self-centeredness. Sometimes in Buddhist prayers or term, there's a chronic disease or illness, chronic disease or illness. And selfish attitude or self-centeredness is that chronic illness. Chronic illness, chronic disease. And that selfish attitude and self-grasping ignorance, those two are the main that make us suffer, that make others suffer. And that is the cause of all the conflict in this world. From one to one, individuals within the families, friends, or the others, from state to state, from country to country, from world to world. All this problem, suffering, pain is a result of self-grasping and selfish attitude. All this fighting going is for that. All the hurt and harm we do to each other is because of that. So, my belief is, unless we deal with our mind and try to overcome that kind of selfish attitude, self-grasping, ignorance, and then other negative emotion arising from, no system can fix the suffering in this world. No systems. Communist system will not fix the problems. Socialism will not fix the problems. Capitalism will not fix the problem. You can have all different systems that has come in the world at different parts of the world. None of them ever will fix the problems. Every society has same more or less problems. Why? Because no matter what system, if the people who run the system has those selfish attitudes and self-grasping ignorance and the delusion arising from that, never going to fix the problem. And sometimes we get too caught up in the system instead of trying to focus on the mind itself. If everyone pay more attention to their mind, everyone try to pay more attention to their mind, and everyone try to have less anger, less frustrations, less impatience. If everyone try to have less selfish attitude, self-grasping ignorance, the world will be much better place, regardless of what system it is. Whether the system is communist, whether it's capitalism, whether it's socialism, the world would be much more better place. Because the people who run the system or people who live in that place are more kind, more compassionate, and less selfish attitudes, self-grasping, and so forth. And so, therefore, that is that is what we're talking about: chronic illness, chronic disease, illness, sickness of selfish attitude. So the liberating from that, So the path that liberates from that. So the path that liberates from the sufferings, and especially the suffering of lower rebirth, Tari, the first one, the path that liberates that is the path of, as I mentioned, the path of small scope, that is, having a strong refuge, and then engaging into the avoiding 10 non-virtuous actions and engaging in 10 virtuous actions. That is the path, and that is the one that can liberate us from the sufferings. And then, the path that liberates from the 8 fears, is the wisdom realizing emptiness. The wisdom realizing emptiness is the path that can destroy the ignorance and all the other delusion that arises from that ignorance. And the path that liberated from the illness of chronic disease or illness of selfish attitude is the bodhicitta mind. Is the bodhicitta mind. So by actualizing those paths within ourselves, the wisdom realizing emptiness, the bodhicitta mind, and the practice of moral discipline and refuge and so forth, then that is the one that can lead us to become ourselves Tara. Through the support of the Tara out there, we can become ourselves Tara, and it's separate from the Tara itself. So that is Om Taritu Taritu is Soha. And so Soha, as I mentioned, may those paths, those 3 paths be rooted in my heart or my mind. May they be established in my mind. So that is so as I mentioned at the very beginning, Tara is very powerful to overcome the obstacles. Relying on her and engage in practice in relation to that, overcoming the obstacles. And as mentioned, to make things happening and moving, and through things happening and moving, and then we can achieve and whatever we're trying to achieve, whatever we want to accomplish, be able to accomplish. So yeah, maybe we will have a break. Yeah.
Happy birthday, Geshe-la. They don't know what's going on. Yeah. John will do it. Yeah, John will do it. Okay. I'll volunteer. All right. I want to be tonight. If not.
I'm better because of training.
I think maybe we'll do a short practice.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I think instead of too much information. And again, the mind will explode. Mind need to quiet. So here, I think most of you know probably Tara, Green Tara, of just to get some idea when you do the visualizations. Yeah. Yeah, here too.
There.
Yeah. So we have a lot of green data here. So just again, try to quiet your mind, bring your mind in moment by watching the breath mindfully for a few moments.
Oh, I'm sorry, but if you didn't. Yeah.
Then we can try to generate a good intentions, motivation that I'm going to do this practice of
I know the mantra.
the green Tara in order to free and liberate from all the sufferings and the cause of all the suffering, all the attitude, emotion, delusions. And selfish attitude. Of myself and of all sentient beings. And I'm going to do this practice in order to achieve the Tara within myself, the fully awakened state of Tara within myself. In order to liberate each and every sentient beings from all their suffering and cause of suffering. And lead them to their ultimate happiness of Tara state. Then you can imagine all sentient beings surrounding yourself as vast as space, engaging in the practice together. And in the space above you, you can visualize lotus. On top of the lotus, moon cushions. And on top of the moon cushions, there's your root guru, but in the form of green Tara. And left hand, holding the lotus flowers, right hand expanding and by the knee with a circumgrinding gesture. Right leg in a sitting posture. No, left and right leg expanded, like sitting on the chair. And wearing the celestial garment and all the ornaments. Green color. And looking with very compassionate eye, smiling. And Mother Tara encompasses all the Buddhas and all the Buddhas' enlightened activities. Inseparable from their Guru. And she accepts you as you are without any judgmental thoughts. And with unconditional love, you guide. We show you the path. In order to liberate from your own suffering and delusions. By knowing exactly what our needs are, our predisposition, mental state. And then heart of the Guru Vrindhana, there's a Mundis. On top of the Mundis, there's a green palm letter. And surrounding that palm is the Tara's mantra, Om Tare Tutare Turiso, in a anti-clockwise. All standing. The letters are standing. And again, they are like a transparent. Again, the palm letter and the mantras, Kalyan mantra, they all are manifestations of enlightened, compassionate wisdom, enlightened activities. And as we recite the mantra with a strong faith and devotion to the Mother Tara, from that garlands of the mantras, white light, nectar flow into oneself and all sentient beings, cleansing and purifying all the illness, negative karma, delusions, obscurations. All the sufferings, especially all the 8 inner fears of those delusions, and the selfish attitude in completely cleanse and purify. So with that visualizations, then we'll try to recite the mantra. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re So. 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 Om Tare Tu 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 Re So. So imagine or visualize and think with total convictions all our sufferings, especially all the illness, negative karma, and all the delusions, especially all the age delusions, and all the obscurations, and especially selfish attitude, all of them completely cleansed, purified. And yourself and oneself become like a crystal clear, transparent, without any negative trace of any negativities. As we recite more, visualize again from the garlands of the mantra and the palm syllables, more yellow, orange light, nectar flow into oneself, all sentient beings, and receiving all the blessing of enlightened body, speech, and mind. And especially the path of lower small scope, such as the realization of refuge, precious human rebirth, death impermanent, and as well as the middle scope, the three principal aspects of three high training, moral discipline, concentration, wisdom. And the path of practice of higher scope to love, compassion, bodhicitta mind. So receiving all these spiritual realizations and all your body filled with those spiritual realizations, experiences. Each part of your cells, each part of your atoms are made out of those spiritual realization experiences. Om Tare Tu Re So. 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 Om Tare Puri So. So again, visualize, imagine, think that you receive all the blessing in light, in body, speech, and mind of Mother Tara. Especially the three path, small, middle, great scope path that liberate from all the suffering and samsara and all the delusion and selfish attitude. And feel all these spiritual experience and realizations. And due to that experience and great bliss, the experience and rest in that great bliss from those spiritual experience or realization. Then Guru, Mother Tara dissolve into the light, and the light dissolve into yourself. Your body's peace in the mind, and the Guru and Idam, the deities, Mother Tara's body's peace and mind, all become inseparable one. Then we dedicate the virtues. Use all the virtues once and others are created. May I achieve Mother Tara's enlightened state and lead all sentient beings to that Mother Tara state. Yawadi and Yudada, Jesu, Dugani, Goachi, Kamani, Sama. Okay. So I think before we do the final dedications, if there's questions, I can take a couple of questions. If there's any questions, if anyone has any questions. Yes, please. Yeah.
I was wondering if you like the context of anger and how destructive anger is. I was wondering about the wrathful deities who display externally anger-like external manifestations. I was just wondering what they were driven by and whether that was a transformed anger, and what is the transformed anger in an enlightened being?
You know, when we say wrathful deities, and when we say that anger being transformed, it's not really that anger itself, the delusional anger, but it's more kind of when you have delusional anger, there's a strong force. You get this very strong force in that. Similarly, there is positive, strong force like that, and that is transformed into a more kind of wrathful aspect to subdue when a sentient being is unable to subdue peacefully, and out of great compassion, just like a mother's truly loving only child who have so much love, compassion, care. They want to really see the best of a child, and sometimes they have to be strong. You know, sometimes they have to stand on that. You know, they try to explain, they try to do everything, and sometimes they don't get it, and sometimes they have to be strong in that to make them understand, so that you can guide and help the same way, and then that is where the wrathful aspect come. It comes from true compassions, the mind. You know, wrathful such aspect is coming from, in terms of coming from, you know, true love, compassion, the mind. In terms of the action itself is a little bit more wrathful, a little bit tough. You know, because in certain situation, in certain individual, that is what is needed in order to help them. Even with His Holiness Dalai Lama, that we have seen that little bit of wrathful aspect sometimes, you know, with the Tibetans, the monks, especially with the monks, you know, because, you know, there are a lot of naughty monks like myself. You know, not all the monks are, you know, like very subdued, you know. And sometimes His Holiness try to explain, you know, many times of certain behavior as a monk, as a practitioners, you know, how you should, and rules, regulations, all of that. But sometimes some monks doesn't pay attention. Mention so many times, trying to explain so many times, they don't get it. Sometimes he have to be wrathful. Then he really kind of, you know, almost like scold. You know, sometimes he can even point a finger in someone, you know, so you get up, you know, stand up, you know, and because of that, then everyone get it, you know, whatever message, whatever teachings, whatever advice, instruction that everyone really stuck in their mind. They forget that very strongly, you know, certain events. And so that is sometimes you have to be that, you know, and that comes from compassion. He wouldn't do that for some others who he doesn't care about it. Of course, there is no one he doesn't care about it, but just to give an example, like if you are your child, if they are misbehaving and they are doing something wrong, as a parent, you would like to guide them in the right path and say something because you care about them. Another child, even they do, you just, you know, you see, it's not business. You know, because you don't have same compassion for them, same care. So, you know, and so that is because of that compassion, that is what drive. And so that coming from that compassion. So yeah, so that is the wrathful aspect. Yes, please.
Can you say a little bit about expectations? Because as you know, expectations can cause anger, disappointment, all kinds of things. Can you say a little bit about that?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I think expectations come through attachment to certain outcomes, result. You know, expectation is, yeah, when you have certain attachment to certain outcome, certain result, then we have more stronger expectation to that, and more stronger expectations, you know, then of course, you know, if we are unable to fulfill those expectations, we get more disappointed than someone who doesn't have much expectations. You know, they are less disappointed, less upset, and sometimes when they your strong expectation, and when that is not being able to achieve or not being able to, then whether we blame ourselves or blame someone for not being able to do that, and then either we become very harsh on ourselves because we blame ourselves for that not being able to fulfill that expectation. We are unable to meet that expectations. So then we think I'm incapable, I'm bad. You can have a self-loathing, you can have low self-esteem, you can be very harsh on yourself. On the other hand, if we blame someone for that, why we couldn't accomplish it because he or she created obstacles, or he or she, interfere in this and that, or he or she didn't support and this, whatever we feel, then we get a strong upset and anger and that, and so then that lead to that. And then, so therefore expectation actually comes from attachment. Attachment is a certain outcome or certain result. And if you have less attachment, there's less expectations.
So don't have attachments.
Yeah, best is not to have attachment. Best. Yeah. If we don't have attachments, not to have attachment, not easy. But if we don't have attachment, then definitely you have less expectations. Less expectations means you are able to keep your mind more calm, peaceful. And then, not to have that kind of more disappointment or anger, whatever those different emotions arises. One of the advice that I often give to the Tibetans always is, best for the hope, but prepare for the worst. And hope and expectation are different, and so I think maybe that is also that is something also we try to, in everyday things we hope for the best, but also without too much high expectation we prepare for the worst, mentally, then there is less sufferings if things doesn't go so well. Less suffering, less anger, less disappointment, less harsh on yourself or someone. Okay, so we do the dedications.
We'll dedicate the merit created by Richard Critters teaching to all sentient beings, especially those experiencing obstacles, specifically Alyssa, Sean, Mara, Robin, Peggy, Portia, Joe P, people on Maui, Jana, Mary G, Rolf, Leah, Dylan. Those experiencing illness, specifically Carol S, Gregory, Gordy, Phyllis, Elena P, John B, Jim B, Bodie the dog, Yeshi the dog, Carol, Minnie the dog, Gilbert, Carol, Shannon, Vicky, Ting, and John H. We also dedicate for those who have died in the last 49 days or those who are dying, Bill McAllister, Walter Raynard, Norm, Diana, Michael, Page, beings, all beings killed in the Maui fires, Norm, Bob, Page, and Micah. And then we'll do our dedication prayers, starting with the general dedication prayer. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I acquit this state of the Guru Buddha,
And
and all the beings that are exception into that United States. May the supreme good of the Creator
that has not silenced and lies in love.
and
And that is his happiness and not diminish, but increase more.
on the next page, we'll do the long life prayers for our teachers, starting with His Holiness Dalai Lama. We'll do it once in English.
The wish granted, wish fulfilled.
May
And for also Hitra Mama Yeshu's reincarnation, Venerable One, to you the spice of the deeds out of all conquerors, for those conquerors, far of places of the day we bless. My for purpose, intentionally to bring into a better way of our discovery. We make this request.
May our venerable Lama's lives be firm, provide divine action, spread in the 10 directions. And the torch of Losang's teachings, dispelling the darkness of the three worlds beings, always remain. And all future lives may we always be part. In all future lives may we never be part of the perfect Lamas and pure ways of the Dharma. May we gain every experience of the path of stages, quickly attain the stage of older Dharma knowledge.
And we also dedicate for the swift return of Lama. So which is reincarnations, and to be able to meet and to be able to receive the teachings, instructions, and continue to be under his guidance and care until we achieve enlightenment. Thank you. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.